to tune in. Parents, teachers, educators, aspiring educators, and anyone who wants to have informed conversations about education. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Also, if there's any topic you want us to discuss, please leave a comment below. Welcome to another episode of Global Educators Unite. Today, we will discuss a global issue that has plagued the education sector for decades: teacher retention. Every year, school districts in the United States, Jamaica, England, and Canada, and other countries scramble to find teachers for the upcoming school year. Why do education departments worldwide struggle to attract and retain new teachers? The Economic Policy Institute reported that the US will need 200,000 teachers by the 2025 to 2026 school year. CBC Radio reported that Canada suffers from a severe teacher shortage and is exploring placing unqualified people in the schools to supervise the classroom. National Education Union in England reported that they missed their recruitment target this year by 48%. Zenika Spence published an article, Teacher Migration and its Impact on the Teaching Profession in Jamaica, where she discussed brain drain in the education sector and attributed the reason for teachers leaving Jamaica to higher salaries, improved working conditions, and personal development. According to educationelement.com, teachers of color are underrepresented in the US. More than 80% of teachers are Caucasian, with a 50% student population of color. A survey completed by the Minnesota Colored Teachers revealed that they were dissatisfied with the administration, test-based accountability system, lack of installation, and lack of autonomy and influence. The same website also stated that colored teachers are 19% more likely to leave the profession in comparison to 15% of their white counterparts because their salary is not keeping up with the rising cost of living. Joining me today on this episode is Miss Jada Ratliff. She was a young teacher whom I helped to mentor when she started teaching. It was disappointing when, after only 3 years, she decided she wanted nothing to do with the profession. She will share some of her experiences and why she quit the profession. Hi, Ms. Ratliff, how are you?
Walker, I'm great. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thanks for asking. So, how do you feel about sharing some of your educational background with us?
That's gonna be great. My undergraduate degree is in music with a minor in English, writing concentration, and I have a master's in higher education.
Awesome, thank you. And what level of students did you teach while you were teaching in the classroom?
I taught middle school, sixth, seventh, and eighth.
So, please share some of your teaching experiences with us.
So I had both positive and negative experiences, but I do want to begin by saying that I enjoyed teaching, love teaching. I enjoyed the students that I had the pleasure of teaching. And I also enjoyed meeting some of my colleagues who also turned out to be mentors and lifelong friends. Um, I definitely want to say that although teaching was a positive in itself, there were some negatives that really happened on the outside of the classroom. In particular, I saw some of my colleagues not really being supported the way that they needed to, and that would include some of the veteran instructors and some of the beginning teachers as well. I also noticed that I had to advocate for myself sometimes unnecessarily, and that was a little bit draining, particularly with the observations. So after you get an observation, see, okay. After you get an observation, then of course you have the time to review it, and then you can essentially do a rebuttal and get a higher score. My scores were never low. However, I noticed that there were, and not with all the observations, but sometimes it's like, well, this was very evident. How was it not evident? And so I find myself unnecessarily advocating, like, well, I do this and I do this. Okay. It gets a little draining sometimes. Um, Another thing was being taught to meet the students where they were, but not seeing that modeled with the adults as well. So I think that often we think that adults are no longer learners. They're no longer students. That's not true. So if you are implementing a new strategy and certain teachers aren't catching on, it is your job as the teacher to meet that student where they are, even if they are an adult, because how else will they be able to model it for the students and prove it to be effective? So not everything was my experience, but some of the experiences of others around me that I happened to see. And I was like, wow, I really need to put myself in a position where I can help somebody else. I'm okay, but I need to be in a position to help somebody else be better.
Awesome. Thank you, Miss Ratliff, for that. And what are some of the things you enjoyed as an educator?
I enjoy, again, my students. I enjoy teaching them. Um, some of those light bulbs coming on when the concepts were understood. I also enjoy learning from my mentors. That was very essential to me. Again, I used to be a teacher who stayed super late, brought work home. Work was done on the weekends, just like I didn't, work was everywhere for me, and work did not have to be everywhere. So spending time with my mentors helped me understand, don't reinvent the wheel. Don't be here so late. Like, come on, you put this into place so that you'll be okay. Leave at a decent hour. It's okay. It doesn't have to be work, 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 dedicate, dedicate, dedicate. You can do that within the time allotted.
Awesome. You decide to leave teaching entirely.
Ultimately, it was the environment. And I know that all schools are not going to be the same. But for me, it was the environment. It wasn't enough, the bond that I had with my students, it wasn't enough. And sometimes you feel like teachers' guilt for leaving your students, especially if they're in 6th or 7th grade and you're like, oh, but I really want to be there with them. But you have to put yourself first. So I saw a lot that took place, especially with newer teachers who weren't necessarily, who were newer than I was, who weren't understanding some of the basic concepts. And instead of seeing them get the support that they needed, I feel as if they left thinking that they were 100% inadequate when there was always room to grow. Everyone's not going to get everything right the first, second, or third try, but failure is part of it. Now, it does depend on some of those failures because you are in the field of education. You are responsible for people's children. I do want to make that clear. But certain things, you can help others. Everyone doesn't learn the same. You can help other people. Yeah.
That's
You
very,
can help other people.
thanks for
But,
sharing.
but really, we have to practice what we're preaching. So if we are doing a lot of preaching and not a lot of practicing, then it's in vain.
And you did not see that reciprocating where the teachers were concerned. You just saw it where focus was on the students, but you didn't see it on the adults.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So do you think that if you and some of the other teachers that we saw left within the first year, do you think that if more support had been given to them, they would have tried and tough it out or something like that?
Definitely. Definitely. Because talent is talent and skill is skill. Talent is innate, but you have to build upon your skills. So if you were in the business of people, and the same way that we cannot treat our students and throw them away, you can't do that to adults either. You really cannot, especially when you are offering alternative licensure programs. You can't do that. Everyone's not going to go to the school of education and come out with as a licensed instructor.
Can you explain a little bit more about your alternative licensure process?
Yes. So for me, well, now it's retired, but it was giving me the opportunity within 3 years to get my license based off of my coursework during college and enrolling in a program to get some of that necessary instruction that students who typically follow the education path would get. I'm not sure what it looks like now for the state of North Carolina, but I know in almost every state there are different alternatives, especially now when there's such a high need.
Hmm.
You may have been a social worker or studied social work in college and decide you want to be a teacher. So there's a pathway for that, just like our From Troops to the Classroom program, where you had people who were enlisted and now they are instructors, different pathways for everybody.
Okay, awesome. And do you think that you will ever return to the classroom?
I'm not going to say I'll never return to the classroom, but I know that being in the classroom is not for me right now. And I have found a way to make a positive impact on educators and students in a different capacity that doesn't require me to be inside the classroom 7 to 3, Monday through Friday.
Okay, so can you inform us about what you're doing right now that is impacting educators?
I'm an education consultant, but I have also served as a college access professional. And so that allows me to help students get to college, as well as help other educators be better in education. So there are some teachers who need resources that they are not able to confidently ask for within the classroom. And so we meet one-on-one and we go through different strategies to help you become a more effective teacher.
Awesome. So you're still in the field of education, you're just not
Yes.
directly working with the kids. Love
Just no grading papers, that's all.
that. Love that. What advice do you have for aspiring teachers?
Um, I wrote down some nuggets that I think would be helpful. I would definitely say take what's yours and leave what's not. So that looks like if you are in a PLC and some of that information may not necessarily apply to you, take what does and leave what doesn't. I would also say to build relationships with students and colleagues. Building relationships with students looks like you being a part of their support group, you being a part of their circle, so that they know that there's someone rooting for them. Building relationships with your colleagues looks like some of the veteran teachers taking you under their wings, showing you some of what they know, helping you be a better educator. Because we all have room to learn. There's always something we can learn. And I think that you can have empathy and get the job done, which goes back to what I was stating earlier about some of the colleagues needing more support. You know, if a teacher's about to retire, you cannot bring about new technology and be like, it's do or don't. They've not been using the technology, you know? Um, and then also we must have a way to help them use the technology. So we don't ask people to do what we're not able to do. And the last thing would be understand that burnout is real. So I know, especially right now, a lot of teachers are experiencing burnout, and it is really just you have to prioritize yourself. So that means your physical self, your mental self, your overall well being, because if you are not doing that, then it can creep up on you very quickly and have a very negative effect. So definitely take care of yourself and prioritize yourself. You can make a difference, but you can't make a difference if you don't have anything to give.
It's like what they say on the airplane, you put on your mask before you try to help anybody else.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it seems selfish, but it's true.
You have to take
It's
care of yourself. And so Miss Ratliff, sorry, thank you so much for joining me today to share your experiences in the classroom and what you're doing now, because it's very important to know that not every educator who leaves the classroom leaves education entirely. And so we need to understand that as well. But there are also things that administrators, school districts, and different people can do to help BTs to stay in the profession, because we all see that this is a global issue where educators are short. So the last thing that we need is for educators to be leaving the classroom. And so, Ms. Ratliff, thank you so much for joining me today. And to my Global Educators Unite fans, thanks for listening in today as well. So, teachers, there you have it. What can encourage teachers to stay in the classroom? I also found some research of my own. So, what encourages teachers to stay in the profession? Support from principals, school culture of inclusion, opportunity for growth, celebrated and supported, and a salary increase. Thanks for joining me on another episode of Global Educators Unite, where educators meet to discuss content, methodology, student parent teacher relationship, and any other educator related issue. Remember, teaching is a profession of all professions, the most rewarding and least compensated. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.